What's going on, my good people? Mike Hidalgo here. Thank you for joining us on another FCP Euro DIY. Today we're going to be working on a 2016 Audi S3. Today on the S3 behind me, we're going to cover how to do an oil change. This is going to be applicable for your 15 up to 20, possibly 21 Audi S3s. We're going to be using our Liqui-Moly Glycol oil change kit. It's a 5W40. It also comes with a MAN filter as well as a new drain plug. We recommend that you do this oil change every 3,500 to 5,000 miles, especially in a high-performance vehicle like the S3. And with our lifetime replacement guarantee, it makes life a little bit easier, so you can change it at whatever interval you are comfortable with. Now that we have a look at what we're going to be working with today, let's take a look at some of the tools we're going to need for this oil change job. For this job, we're going to need a couple of basic tools, starting with a small pick. A small flathead screwdriver will do the job as well. We have a ratchet, a torque wrench, and a 32mm socket. And then the nice to have, but not necessary, is the CTA 1037 tool. This is going to be used for the plastic drain plug. You can simulate that with a small flathead screwdriver as well. Now we have our tools situated, let's go ahead and get started on this DIY. All right, my good people, we are underneath the hood. To get started on this oil change DIY, we're going to start by removing this beauty cover. It's simply held in place by some rubber grommets, just pops off. Set that to the side. Two things that we need to know up here, our oil filter location and our oil fill cap location. Before we do anything, we're going to go ahead and remove the cap. That way when we drain the oil from underneath, everything can flow freely. Set this somewhere where you won't lose it. With that done, let's get the car up in the air and get started on draining the oil. My good people, we are underneath the vehicle now. If you've seen some of our other videos on this car, you'll know that our splash shield is missing. So if you're underneath your car for the first time, you should have a shield under here held on by a bunch of Torx screws or flatheads, depending on if they've been changed or not. So once you get that out of the way, you're going to have access to your oil pan. Now, before we get started, there's a couple things I want to mention. There is two variations depending on if your car still has its plastic oil pan or a metal oil pan. The drain screws are going to look a little bit different. Our car is equipped with the plastic oil pan, so we have our plastic drain plug right here. And as mentioned earlier, I'm using the special CTA tool, but you can replicate this as well with a similar sized flathead screwdriver. So I'm going to set my catch pan up a little bit higher, get that drain plug off, and let this old oil drain out. And boom, baby. I'm gonna go home, grab some lunch. I'll see you when this is done draining. All right, back up top, our next step is gonna be to remove our oil filter. Before we get that off, I'm gonna put a couple shop towels around it, just in case we spill a little bit on the way out. Just good insurance. You're going to need a 32mm socket to get this oil filter cap off. All right, my beautiful people, it's been about 3 days. The oil is finally coming to a drip. We can go ahead and reinstall our new drain plug. Again, this comes included with the kit. I have it positioned on my tool. Let's feed it into the oil pan. Threads in a couple turns, and then it stops on its own. It's got a little notch built into it that keys into the bottom of the oil pan. There's no mistaking where it goes. Once you have that snugged in, now we can work on changing our oil filter out and filling it up with some fresh oil. So let's head back up top and get this wrapped up. The oil filter kit comes with a new O-ring for your cap. Make sure you swap that out. I'm just using a pick tool to pry the old one off. This can be a little tricky if your hands are all covered in oil. There is a groove dedicated to where the O-ring sits in. So make sure when you get that on that you have it in the right spot. So it'll look like that. Pop your new filter on. And let's feed it back into the engine. Feed our new oil filter in by hand. All right, got my torque wrench set. Again, this is a 32 mil, 25 Newton meters. Beautiful. Now with that done, all that's left for us to do is to fill our engine with fresh oil. So let me grab a funnel and we'll do just that. With that filled up, we can go ahead and put our oil cap back on. All right, we let this grill run for a couple minutes. We're gonna go ahead and double check our oil level, but it should be correct. If you need to add some, perfect. Now all that we have left to do is put our beauty cover to wrap up this oil change DIY. And again, our cover just has a couple rubber grommets that key into a couple points on the engine and intake manifold. Boom, baby, beautiful. And there you have it, my good people. Another DIY in the books. Overall, a really straightforward job on this S3, but definitely an easy one to do at home. If you like this DIY, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments on what we did today, leave them in the comment box below. And if you like this DIY and you want to see more like them, please consider subscribing. We make new ones all the time. As always, thank you for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.